The book of Genesis, the first in the Bible, is a comprehensive chronicle that spans from the creation of the universe to the beginning of the history of the people of Israel. It is a story of beginnings, of pacts and promises, of human failures, and unchanging divine fidelity. As we delve into its pages, we find a rich tapestry of stories that reveal the character of God and the nature of human relationship with Him. The narrative begins with the creation of the world, an act of God's sovereign will that speaks all things into existence. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. With this simple yet deeply meaningful statement, the stage is set for everything that follows. God creates light, separates it from darkness, and organizes the cosmos in a series of creative acts over 6 days. Each day of creation is a careful construction of order out of chaos, with God declaring each work good. On the first day, light is separated from darkness, a symbolic division that not only illuminates the physical world, but also establishes a fundamental distinction between good and evil, order and chaos. On the second day, God creates the firmament, an expansion that separates the waters, forming the heavens. The creation of dry land on the third day, with seas and vegetation, sets the stage for the life that follows. From the fourth day onwards, God fills the cosmos with celestial lights, the sun, moon, and stars, which not only illuminate but also mark time, days, and seasons. This ordering of time is crucial for human life and for the establishment of the natural rhythms that govern the world. Over the next 2 days, the creation of life progresses. On the fifth day, God fills the waters with sea creatures and the skies with birds, blessing them and commanding them to multiply. On the sixth day, land animals are created, culminating in the creation of humans. Here, the narrative shifts from an impersonal description to an act of divine intimacy. God creates man and woman in His image and likeness, imbuing them with unique dignity and value. They are given the mandate to dominate the earth and to be fruitful and multiply. God plants the Garden of Eden as a perfect home for them, where they can enjoy abundance and live in communion with Him. The Garden of Eden is a place of harmony and wholeness, where Adam and Eve live in innocence and freedom. However, this peace is broken when they disobey God by eating the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, which was forbidden to them. The temptation presented by the serpent, which questions the goodness and truth of God, leads Eve to doubt and ultimately to transgress the divine commandment. Adam in turn chooses to follow Eve, and both fall into sin. This act of disobedience brings catastrophic consequences: the introduction of sin and death into creation, and the breaking of communion with God. God confronts Adam and Eve, and they are expelled from Eden. The narrative of the fall is more than a simple story of disobedience. It is a portrait of the conflict between human free will and divine sovereignty. The expulsion from the garden symbolizes the separation between God and humanity, and the curses uttered, the hard work, the pain of childbirth, and the enmity with the serpent are reminders of the consequences of sin. However, even in this moment of judgment, there is a promise of future redemption. The woman's offspring will crush the serpent's head, a prophecy that points to final victory over evil. As the narrative progresses, we see the consequences of sin unfold in the first generations of humanity. Cain and Abel, sons of Adam and Eve, offer sacrifices to God, but Cain, consumed by jealousy, kills his brother Abel. This is the first recorded murder, an act that God severely condemns. Cain is cursed to be a fugitive and a vagabond, but in His mercy God places a sign on him to protect him from vengeance. Cain's lineage is marked by cultural innovation, but also by violence and moral decadence, exemplified in Lamech, who boasts of his violence. Meanwhile, the lineage of Seth, the third son of Adam and Eve, is described in a more positive light, with emphasis on Enos, in whose time people began to call on the name of the Lord. However, human corruption spreads quickly, and evil becomes prevalent. God notes that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. Regretful of having created man, God decides to destroy all flesh with a flood, sparing only Noah, a just and upright man. The story of Noah and the flood is a narrative of judgment and salvation. Noah is instructed to build an ark to save his family and a pair of each animal species. The flood is a cosmic reversal of creation, with waters covering the entire earth, destroying everything that had the breath of life. After 40 days and 40 nights, the waters begin to recede, and the ark rests in the mountains of Ararat. Noah and his family leave the ark and offer sacrifices to God, who makes a covenant with them, promising never again to destroy the earth with a flood. The rainbow is given as a sign of this covenant, a visual reminder of God's mercy and faithfulness. Even after the flood, sin persists. Noah plants a vineyard, gets drunk, and is dishonored by his son Ham. As a result, Ham's son Canaan is cursed. This story shows that despite the new beginning provided by the flood, the human heart continues to be inclined to sin. Noah's descendants, through his sons Shem, Ham, and Japheth, populate the earth, and the story continues with the narrative of the Tower of Babel. The construction of the Tower of Babel is a human effort at unification and self-sufficiency, defying the divine order to spread across the earth. Humans, speaking a unique language, attempt to build a tower that reaches the heavens, a symbol of their pride and desire to reach the divine through their own efforts. God, sensing rebellion and the potential for evil, confuses their languages, resulting in the scattering of the nations. This dispersion is a crucial moment in the biblical narrative as it introduces the diversity of languages and cultures, as well as the separation of nations, setting the stage for Abraham's calling. Starting from Abraham, Genesis focuses on the history of the patriarchs, the lineage chosen by God to be the bearers of his promises. Abraham, initially called Abram, is called by God to leave his homeland and go to a land that God would show him. This call is accompanied by promises of great offspring, a land, and universal blessing. Abraham obeys, demonstrating exemplary faith, although his journey is not without challenges and failures. Abraham and his wife Sarah face the challenge of sterility, which seems to contradict God's promise of great offspring. In a moment of weakness, they try to fulfill the promise by their own means, resulting in the birth of Ishmael through Hagar, Sarah's servant. However, God reaffirms that the promise will be fulfilled through a son born to Sarah. This promise is miraculously fulfilled with the birth of Isaac, whose name means laughter, reflecting the joy and surprise of his parents. Abraham's life is marked by moments of deep faith and obedience, such as when he is willing to sacrifice Isaac in obedience to God's command. This event is one of the most dramatic moments in Genesis, where God tests Abraham's faith to the utmost. However, at the last moment, God provides a ram as a substitute, reaffirming his covenant with Abraham and promising him abundant blessings. Isaac, the son of promise, continues the line of faith, although his life is less detailed than that of his father or his son Jacob. He marries Rebekah, who also faces barrenness, but God hears his prayers, and she gives birth to twins, Esau and Jacob. The rival, age between siblings is established from the womb and unfolds throughout their lives. Jacob, with the help of his mother, deceives Esau and obtains Isaac's birthright blessing, an act that leads him to flee to his uncle Laban's house. The story of Jacob is a saga of deception, struggle, and transformation. He works for many years to marry Rachel, but is deceived by Laban and first marries Leah. Jacob eventually marries Rachel as well, and his wives and female servants bear him 12 sons, who become the ancestors of the 12 tribes of Israel. Jacob's life is marked by encounters with God, including a nighttime struggle with a mysterious man who renames him Israel, meaning one who wrestles with God. The Genesis narrative culminates in the story of Joseph, Jacob's beloved son, who is sold into slavery by his jealous brothers. Joseph's trajectory from slave to governor of Egypt is a story of redemption and divine providence. God uses Joseph to save his family and many other people from hunger. Joseph's revelation to his brothers and subsequent forgiveness are moments of reconciliation and restoration, showing God's sovereignty in transforming evil into good. In conclusion, Genesis is a book that offers a comprehensive view of the relationship between God and humanity. From the majestic creation of the universe to the complex stories of individuals and families, it reveals a God who is sovereign, just, and merciful. The stories of the patriarchs demonstrate that God chooses to work through imperfect people to fulfill his eternal purposes. They are models of faith, but also examples of human failures, which remind us that God's grace is essential at every stage of life. Dear viewers, as we reflect on the book of Genesis, we are invited to consider the greatness and goodness of God, as well as our own human condition. The stories contained in this book are not mere historical accounts, but spiritual lessons that continue to resonate today. They teach us about the importance of faith, obedience, and trust in God's promises. May we learn from the examples of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph, and may our lives be an expression of the same faith they demonstrated. As we seek God, may we find in Genesis a source of inspiration and encouragement, reminding us that the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is the same God who is with us today, guiding and sustaining us in all our endeavors. Journeys. May the Lord bless and guide each of you. May his promises of love, mercy, and redemption become a living reality in your lives. And may the story of Genesis inspire in you a continued search for a deeper relationship with the Creator, who is faithful in all his words and promises.